President Joe Biden has mashed potato for brains. He addressed a group of, what were these, manufacturers of some kind yesterday. And, well, he was just all over the map. We're used to him being incoherent, but, well, take a look at this clip where he's trying to talk about the president of South Korea. See if you can understand what he's slurring here.
But I am friends with your leader, Mr. Moon. We're good guys.
Did you catch that? The president is not well.
But I am friends with your leader, Mr. Moon. We're good.
Good guys. But then he went on to brag about other relationships he's got with Asian leaders, including the president of Communist China.
I've said this, and I said this to Deng Xiaoping in the Himalayas.
I'm sorry, what? Which name did he just say there? Was that Deng?
Deng Xiaoping in the...
I don't think that's his name. I don't think it's Deng Xiaoping. In fact, I think he just insulted him.
to Deng Xiaoping in the...
All right, let me let him finish here. It's too much fun to just make fun of him mispronouncing a Chinese name. It gets better.
I've said this, and I said this to Deng Xiaoping in the Himalayas, and I've said this to every world leader. It's never, never, never been a good bet to bet against the American people. Never, never, never.
He's a very angry man. And it's true. You know what? It is never a good bet to bet against the American people. I mean, unless the bet is that the American people would somehow elect a completely brain dead, incoherent, brain damaged, incompetent president who's been in Washington, D.C. for 50 years and has literally nothing to point to as any achievement other than to just brazenly and corruptly advance his own political career and then drive our economy into the toilet and have wars spout up across the planet on his watch. I mean, if you bet that the American people would do that, that may have been a good bet. But other than that, never, ever bet against the American people. More Biden.
Here in Colorado, the wind turbine manufacturing Vistas is investing $40 million to expand its factory.
Okay, now we're going to play this one more time because there's more to it, but I need to set this up a little bit. Have you ever seen a president give an address to a group of people before? There's a teleprompter always set up, usually. Now, Donald Trump, of course, goes off teleprompter quite a bit, but they always set up the teleprompter, and it's there, and it's got these two little glass panels right in front of them, and the letters on the words of the script are right there. And obviously, you can see Joe Biden is reading a script here. I just want you to know that the teleprompter used for Joe Biden is about 8 times bigger than your typical teleprompter. That's like, we're talking widescreen. And they blow up the words so big that you can fit basically 3 words per panel as he tries to read this thing. That's why he's always squinting when he's giving addresses. If you look, try to Google a picture, an image of Joe Biden giving a Oval Office address. He rarely gives an Oval Office address. Have you noticed that? Whenever he addresses the American people, it's in the Roosevelt Room or in the East Room because you've got more space for the giant teleprompter. And that's why you often see him doing this when he's, right? He's always doing this because he's a very old man and his eyes don't work. So I just want you to know that as he struggles to read the speech, I want to be clear, his job at this moment, at this event, his entire job is to stand there and read something. Pretty much something that anybody over the age of 6 years old can do if they don't have mashed potato for brains. And he clearly is struggling to do that. He cannot read these words on a teleprompter the size of the Jumbotron at AT&T Stadium where the Cowboys play.
Here in Colorado, the wind turbine manufacturing Vistas is investing $40 million to expand its factory and hire an additional 1,000 employees. Solar manufacturer Meyer Burger is building a new solar cell factory just down the road in Colorado Springs.
81 million votes, people. 81 million. And he's a lock for next year's election, guaranteed. All right, moving on. There's more Biden. Oh, sure there is.
When I took office, since then, the first 2 years, we created over 14 million brand new jobs, good paying jobs.
All right, so that's a lie. First of all, this president doesn't create jobs at all. I would argue that the government doesn't create any jobs unless it's, federal government jobs. But beyond that, the government doesn't create jobs in the private sector. Those jobs happen because the economy is in such a state that more people can be employed. Now, there may be 14 million people working now that weren't working before Joe Biden came into the office, but I don't know. Something occurs to me was going on when he became president. There was something. I know there was. I can't put my finger on. Oh, yeah, the lockdown. People were dying to work. We had overemployment when Trump was in office. We had record low unemployment rates across the board, lowest unemployment rate you've seen for women, African Americans, and Latino Americans in the history of keeping track of these numbers. People wanted to work. They were told not to work. They were ordered to stay home because of Anthony Fauci and the CDC and the government shutdown during the pandemic. So when Joe Biden came in, suddenly everything was fine. We could open up again as long as you got the shot in your arm. And yeah, people went back to work because they were finally allowed to go back to work at the jobs that they already had. Those aren't brand new jobs. Those are old jobs that were vacated because of this guy and his pal Fauci. All right, you want more Biden? I'll give you more Biden.
By the way, I cut the federal deficit of over $7 billion while doing all this.
We do like it when he whispers. That's our favorite Biden is whisper Biden. He does sound menacing and he scares us, and we think he's about to have an aneurysm again. But let's look beyond the whisper and listen to what he's actually saying.
By the way, I cut the federal deficit of over $7 billion while doing all this.
No, he didn't. He just didn't. That's a lie. And one more.
Instead of cutting them, like Congressman Trump and Boebert wanted to do.
I'm sorry, who's he talking about?
Instead of cutting them, like Congressman Trump and Boebert wanted to do.
Congressman Trump and Boebert? Congressman Trump and Boebert. Is there a congressman? Has Donald Trump run for Congress and we missed it? I would think that would get some attention. Or is there somebody else named Trump? Did Don Jr. run without anyone noticing? Barron's not old enough. Couldn't be.
Instead of cutting them, like Congressman Trump and Boebert wanted to do.
As I said at the beginning of this very important rundown of the president's remarks yesterday, Joe Biden, in fact, has mashed potato for brains. One last one. Here's a great exchange with a couple of factory workers.
This is Nick. Hey, Nick. This is Nick with your buddy. Now, look, my Marine carries that. It has a code to blow up the world. That doesn't. This is not nuclear weapons, is it? All right, okay. Think they're cleaning up.
I'd like to think he was joking there. But you remember that one time? Well, you probably don't remember. You're too young. But President Reagan, when doing a mic test before giving his radio address one time, joked about entering a nuclear war with Mikhail Gorbachev. And that was about a 3-week-long scandal in Washington, D.C. There were people saying that he should be impeached for making such a joke. And I assure you, Joe Biden is no Ronald Reagan. But the joke that he's making here, and let's just assume it's a joke.
This is Nick. Hey, Nick. This is Nick with your buddy. Now, look, my Marine carries that. It has a code to blow up the world. That doesn't.
First of all, he's not your Marine, Mr. President. He works for the American people. So that's kind of offensive that he put it that way. Does he say that? Where's my Marine? Based on the Marines I know, they would snap him in half if he used that terminology around them. Secondly, I don't think it's appropriate to describe the nuclear football, the the special button that does get carried around wherever the president goes, just in case there is a need to launch nuclear weapons. I don't think it's quite appropriate, or for that matter, accurate, to describe it as a button that would blow up the world. And finally, if in fact his Marine does in fact have a button that will in fact blow up the world, I assure you that he shouldn't be talking about it. Have I mentioned that Joe Biden has mashed potato for brains?